Most men aren't living their lives, they are spectating them. They speak about mechanical things with a familiarity that sounds like experience, while the real world sits waiting in the dark. This is the deep dive into level 1, the spectator. If you haven't seen the original video where all 7 levels get laid out, the link is somewhere around here. Go watch that first. If you have, let's look at what the screen is quietly protecting you from. You know the feeling of being completely absorbed in a video about something you've never actually done. A restoration project? A full engine rebuild? Someone pulling apart a rusted frame and turning it back into something that runs. You watch the whole thing. Then another one. You find a channel, the channel has a playlist, and before long an hour has disappeared and you feel strangely like you've been productive. You haven't touched anything. But it felt like you were almost there. That gap is worth paying attention to. The spectator isn't lazy. That's the part that makes this level easy to miss. He's genuinely interested. He saves videos. He reads threads. He knows which penetrating oil works best on corroded bolts, which socket sets are worth the price, which mistakes beginners make on their first brake job. He has built a detailed picture of a skill he has never once tested against a real problem. And the picture keeps growing, because growing the picture never costs anything. Every time he watches a build, there's a quiet sense of movement. The longer he watches someone else live the experience, the more his mind starts mistaking observation for participation. He feels closer to the destination without taking a single step toward it. The mind experiences something close to doing, which is enough to soften the discomfort of not doing. Not enough to replace it entirely, just enough to make another video feel reasonable. So he cues the next one. The phone fills with saved videos. The playlist titled Projects gets longer. There might even be a list somewhere of things he plans to fix, things he wants to learn, things he'll start when the time is right. The time stays not quite right. Out in the garage, the broken lawnmower sits in the corner where it landed 2 summers ago. He knows roughly what's wrong with it. He's watched a video that covers exactly that problem. The parts probably cost less than $30. The job would take an afternoon at most. It stays broken. And the lawnmower isn't really the point. For another man, it's the business idea sitting in a notebook. For another, it's the text he keeps rewriting but never sends. The friendship he'll make time for once life settles down. The gym that starts next month. The object changes. This is the part that requires honest attention. Because from the outside, the spectator looks like a man building towards something. He's researching. He's preparing. He speaks about mechanical things with a familiarity that sounds like experience. And he believes, at some level, that the research is the preparation. That once he knows enough, he'll be ready to start. But readiness doesn't arrive that way. A bolt that won't move gives you feedback the video never will. The frustration is real. The resistance is real. The moment where you have to decide whether to keep going or walk back inside, that moment cannot be simulated. Watching someone else navigate it doesn't train you for it. The screen can teach you what to do. It cannot teach you what it feels like when doing goes wrong. The same thing happens outside the garage. You can watch hours of videos about confidence and still have no idea what it feels like to walk into a room full of strangers and start a conversation. You can listen to podcasts about friendship and still never experience the awkward first few attempts at building one. You can study communication, charisma, and social dynamics until you can explain them better than the people actually practicing them. None of that replaces the moment you introduce yourself and don't know how the conversation will go. Real life gives feedback. Information doesn't. This is what the screen quietly protects him from. Not difficulty exactly, but the specific feeling of being uncertain in front of a real problem with no one editing the outcome. Videos have cuts. Real work doesn't. You strip the bolt or you don't. The engine turns over or it doesn't. The conversation flows or it doesn't. There's no algorithm softening the result. Staying in the watching phase keeps that moment somewhere in the future. Always approachable, never arrived at. And the longer it stays there, the more starting starts to carry weight it shouldn't have. Readiness becomes a moving target. One more video, one more book, one more tool. He's not afraid. He'd push back hard on that word. He's preparing. He's being thorough. He doesn't want to start and do it wrong, which is true. and being thorough has the same external appearance as not starting. The shift out of this level doesn't come from watching a different kind of video. It doesn't come from finding a better tutorial or buying the tool that's been sitting in the cart. It comes from accepting a specific trade. You trade the comfort of the picture for the friction of the real thing. You trade the feeling of progress for actual progress, which, in the beginning, looks much worse. The first conversation is awkward. The first project is messy. The first attempt rarely resembles the person you eventually become. But every capable man you've ever admired has one thing in common. At some point, he stopped preparing to begin and simply began. The spectator already knows this. He's watched enough to know what skill looks like when it's developed. He's watched enough to know the distance between where he is and where those finished builds exist. The screen has given him a very clear picture of his own gap. Watching more doesn't close it. If you saw yourself in this level, leave a comment below. The original video where all 7 levels get laid out is linked right here. Watch that first if you haven't. And subscribe if this kind of slow, honest look at behavior is what you come here for.